This video is going to give you a brief introduction to starting a floor plan in AutoCAD. So from the New tab, assuming we set our template properly, to Architectural Imperial, we can click the Start Drawing button. Once the drawing's open, we'll switch to the Model tab. And the first thing we'll do on the Home tab is select the Line command and type 0, 0 for our first point. Might zoom out a touch so that we can see where that went. And then because we want to have 0, 0 at a particular point in the drawing, we'll just start drawing our floor plan based off of that spot. So maybe we want to go 12 feet to the right and 24 feet up. You might get to this point where you can't zoom out to see that line. So we'll hit Escape and I'll double click the wheel on the mouse. In the book, we'll set something called the drawing limits in zoom extents so that we can see the entire area we're going to work in, so we won't run into that problem, because in this case I had to cancel my line command to be able to get out and do that. So I'm going to select the line command again, and we'll just continue to work our way around. I'm not doing the exact example in the book. I'm just doing something a little bit more abstract so we can quickly go through a few exercises. So the first thing we do is draw the perimeter of our building. We're going to want to make sure that we put those lines on the proper layer. So we're going to create a layer called A-wall. We're going to specify a color for that layer, which later this color will translate to a line weight. Because I had previously drawn these lines before I created the correct layer, I have to select all of them, and I see that they're on layer 0, so I can click from this drop-down list and switch them to A-wall. When I hit Escape, I see that this switches back to tell me what the current layer is when nothing's selected. So the current layer is layer 0. I might want to change this to A-wall, so with nothing selected, picking from that list changes what the current layer is. So any new lines that I draw are going to be on the A-wall layer. Once we've drawn the perimeter of our building, we can use the offset command. Maybe all the walls are going to be offset in 5 inches. Because I did not use the polyline command, I have to offset each one of these lines separately, which is okay. We probably don't want to use the polyline command because we're going to be trimming this line for doors and windows. So once I'm done offsetting all the lines, I can see that the corners need to be cleaned up. So I'll use the fillet command, and you can't see this on the screen. If we press F2, we can see that the radius, the default radius right now is 0, which is actually what we want. So if I click these two lines, it just did a fillet command so that there's no radius. The normal fillet command, if you add a radius, will add an arc in here. This is just adjusting the two lines so they form a perfect intersection. If you ever want to repeat the previous command that you just used, we can just press Enter on the keyboard. So I didn't have to go up to the ribbon and select fillet. I can press Enter again. We can also fillet two lines that don't actually come together to make them come together. So our previous two examples, the lines crossed each other. In this case, it can work either way. The lines don't quite reach each other, or they're crossing each other. They can even be at an angle, and it would still fillet them if the two lines were not at 90 degrees. So now that we've cleaned up all the corners, we can look at what it takes to add openings, say for example for a door. So maybe there's a door opening here, and it's going to be 2 feet over from this inside corner. The first thing we might do is offset, and then I'm going to type 2 in the foot symbol, or I could type 24 and enter. which would be 24 inches. So I'll pick my line to offset, and then I'll head in the direction I want to offset the line. I see the preview here before I even click. I see that's what I want, so I'll go ahead and click. Press escape now, and then I'm going to draw a line from the end point of the line I just offset up perpendicular to the other side of the wall. So we just drew two lines. The distance between those two lines represents the wall thickness for the exterior of our project. I'm going to select that first line that I offset and delete it because we no longer need it. I'm going to select offset again. So we've just developed the right hand jamb opening of our door. So with the offset command active, it's prompting me for the distance. I'm going to type 3 and the foot symbol. So we want a 3-foot exterior door. Now I'm going to use the trim command, and it's prompting me to select the cut planes. So I'm going to pick both of these jamb lines and then right click. Now when I trim, it's going to trim the line between those two cut planes. Then I can press enter or right click to finish that command. Now I'm going to insert. So on the insert tab, I'm going to insert a door block that was drawn previously in this book. So when I go to the drop down, so here's the block panel, and then there's an insert drop down. The previews here are all blocks that currently are defined in this drawing. Our door block is a separate drawing, so we have to go to this more options at the bottom and browse for our door-36 drawing. So we're going to take that entire drawing, which is the reason why we only drew one door symbol in a drawing all by itself. That entire drawing now can be a symbol, or in what AutoCAD calls a block, in our floor plan drawing. So we'll hit open and then OK, and now we can insert this door. And so maybe it actually swings this way. So I need to place it so that the hinge is in the right spot, and then I select it, and we'll use our mirror modify command. I'm going to pick the plane I want to mirror it about, and then we're going to hit Y and enter to delete the source object. This door block needs to go in its own layer, so we're going to do a A-door layer. We're going to give it a color. And so when we see the door block, if it's the color that we're familiar with, once we get used to working with a certain layer standard, we'll know that the door was inserted on the correct layer. Now in the future, if we need to place more of these doors, one option would be to do a window selection. So I just selected the jambs and the door, and now I can use the copy command to copy that door to another location. I could even rotate those lines later. Then I'll just use my trim tool to trim these lines out. So the door opening goes all the way down to the floor. So we completely trim out the lines to suggest that that's a door opening. In the future, if we wanted to insert more doors via the insert tool, we'll notice that now it's available. We have to scroll down here, or we can stretch this preview area larger. Now that the door is defined in the drawing, we don't have to browse for it anymore. We can just pick it from that list. And you'll notice my current layer is still set to A-wall. So this came in on the wrong layer. We'd have to select it and switch it to the correct layer. So windows are similar. Maybe we want a 4-foot window in the middle of this wall. So we'd start with the line command, snap to the midpoint, and then snap to the perpendicular to define our first line. Then we can use the offset command. So we want a 4-foot window and we're starting in the middle. So we'll offset this middle line 2 foot in each direction. We can delete that middle line if we don't need it. We're going to use the trim command to trim out those lines. We do want to show a portion of wall below the window because unlike the doors, the windows do not go all the way to the floor. We're going to create a new layer, A-glaze-sill, and we're going to make this a different color. And we'll set that layer to be current, so when we draw our new lines, they'll automatically go onto that layer. So these lines being on a different layer are intended to be a lighter line weight, so that it implies that there is an opening there. It makes the window opening more prominent, but we still know that the window doesn't go all the way to the floor. We're going to create another layer for the glass. This is going to be a line that's not quite as heavy as the wall line. So just A-glaze. Again, each color ultimately will translate to a line weight when we get to the plotting phase. We'll set A-glaze to be the current layer, and then we'll draw a line down the middle. So we're snapping to the midpoint of the jamb on each side. And that's how we define a simple window using layers in AutoCAD. So from there, you just use these same techniques to continue to develop your floor plan, adding interior walls, more windows, doors, and putting everything on their proper layer.